welcome to this edition of Small Business Breakthroughs. I'm Mike Bowers. I'm the director of the Ohio Small Business Development Center at Columbus State Community College, and we are excited to bring you today's topic. For those of you that aren't familiar with the Small Business Development Center or the SBDC, we provide support to entrepreneurs anywhere from the I have an idea, that's all I have, to I've been in business for a long time and I'm looking to pivot, change, adjust, grow, whatever that happens to be. And I think today's topic is going to be great because we're going to talk about how do you really going to grow your business. But, we're going to talk about it from a marketing perspective. And I think a lot of times folks get wrapped up in the concept that if I want to grow my business, I got to get loans and I've got to get investors or I got to get money and all that kind of stuff. Well, marketing is going to allow you to actually build your business and build your revenue based on your sales and your customer base. So we're going to talk about that in a moment. This program is brought to you in partnership with the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center. And Chaz Frutel is here with us today. And Chaz, if you want to talk a little bit about what's going on at the deck, other than the fact that it's raining outside.
Well, thank you very much, Mike. And it's always a pleasure to work with Small Business Development Center. And we certainly had a partnership since the very beginning of the deck being created in 2009. We're very proud that we're the oldest entrepreneur center in Central Ohio, and that we've had over 200 graduates that have called the deck home at some time between 2009 and today, and have graduated from the deck. And we have over a 90% success rate in those businesses that have graduated from the deck that are still in business. So we just love the fact that that those businesses are successful, and they still come back every once in a while and bother me. But no, I love seeing them and love hearing what they're doing and how they've pivoted and those kinds of things. But we love doing these kinds of programs. We have on-site events as well as virtual events like this, and this is one of those great ones. It's just been going on for a long time, and really enjoy the speakers that we have. But that we've got some space available. So if there's anybody that's maybe looking into start maybe having their own cubicle or hotspot just to drop in, or a full office, we can accommodate. We've got over 100 businesses at the deck right now. And anybody that's on today and part of this event today, we have a special promotion for anybody that's looking for space. So you can reach out to me, and I'll put my number in the contact information, and we'd love to help you out. But look forward to hearing Stacey. Stacey has been a friend for a long time, even before the deck got started. Actually, Stacey sent me an email and let me know that the city of Dublin was looking to create the deck. And so I went to the grand opening, and here a couple months after that, here the city calls me and asked me to have a contract with them and run the deck for them. So Stacey's kind of one of those ones that kind of helped me get started with the deck back from the very beginning. And it's a pleasure to see how she's grown and what she does. And I'm looking forward to hearing what she has to say today.
Great. Thanks a lot, Chaz. I said we are, excited to be able to work with the deck, the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center. As you said, you and I have been involved with the deck since pretty much day one. It was over, another part of Dublin. It's moved over here. It's been over here for quite a while. And the nice thing about this is that, number one, this is Class A office space too. So you're coming in here, you have the opportunity to one, if you're looking for office space, you're looking for, just a place that you can kind of drop in or do whatever. You can do that here and know that the facilities are top notch, and the community is top notch too. I mean, there's a lot of different programming, a lot of different things that goes on here. And just to mention what's interesting is that the nice thing about an entrepreneurial center, or what's going on here, I think is the community part of it. But I spend a lot of time here on the weekends doing some different things, doing some work stuff, doing some other things. And there's always stuff going on, you know. So, it's not just 9 to 5. I mean, so if you are working someplace and you got to, you can work on your business on the weekend, you can be here and there's still stuff going on. So it's a great opportunity for folks, and I encourage you to check it out. And Chaz put his stuff in the chat. Reach out to Chaz, even if you're not sure. It's still a good conversation to have. I want to point out a couple of quick things that we've got going on. Bruce Walters is part of our team. He is here. He runs the kind of the back end of what we're doing here, and he also oversees our small business spotlight program. Bruce, do you want to talk a little bit about what you got coming up with that? Maybe not. All right.
Sorry. Our Spotlight series is a monthly program where we take 60 minutes to meet with a small business owner from Central Ohio and just talk about what's involved in running a small business, challenges and rewards. We try to take a consistent approach, so we're always answering similar questions so you can understand how different businesses approach the same problem across industries. So this month, we're done with this month, so drawing a blank on next month's program, but I will drop that into the chat. So if you're interested, you can sign up or just shoot me an email. I'll be happy to add you to the roster for that event. I think we're booked through the end of the year, so yeah, sign up for all 3 of those.
Yeah, it looks like we've got October 12th. So Human Apparel is the company name.
Yes, Joshua, she is great. Fantastic energy. What she focuses on is a message that we're all human beings and we all make mistakes, but that doesn't make us any less important. So really a passionate program, and she sells lots of merchandise that helps share that message. Yes, I'm looking forward to talking with her.
Great. Well, I'd encourage everybody to jump on there too. Again, that's free of charge, and that is the 12th, and it's a 12:30 start, and it is virtual, just like this one. And before we jump in with our guests, I did want to mention, so today we are talking about marketing. We're talking about a lot of stuff associated with marketing. At Small Business Development Center, one of our longtime training programs that we've done is a marketing plan workshop. It's actually a 4-session workshop where you will go through all the way from, starting to really understand your customers to actually building and having your marketing plan. Tanya Wilson from our team puts that together, and she is the instructor for that. And this one is going to begin October 5th. So if you go to our website, you'll be able to find that if you're interested in signing up. And this one is actually a special one because it's going to be live from the main branch of the Columbus Metropolitan Library on Grant Street in Columbus. So it's going to be in their new business center, and the library will be there as part of that to help with your research and different things like that. So I think it'll be a good opportunity for folks. And if you're interested, again, it's free of charge. Just go ahead and check it out. So let's go ahead and jump in here. Why we're all here. Stacey Kuzda is here. So Stacey, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad your internet's working, and we're all ready to roll here. And as Chaz has said, you've been a longtime fixture here at the deck, done a lot of different things. I'm excited to have the opportunity to speak to you today about marketing, because I think the things that you really understand and can speak to is the stuff that the attendees are interested in. And I did want to mention to the folks that are on with us today, if you have questions as we go along, please put those in the chat, and you'll be able, we'll try to cover that stuff for you. So Stacey, welcome. And if you want to tell us a little bit about your background, what kind of brought you here, and then we'll jump into some cool marketing stuff.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Mike, for the introduction, and thanks for the invite. And I'm excited to be here. I'm a marketing professional. I started mixed marketing my business back around 2002, where I actually started to consult. And one of the reasons I named my business mixed marketing is because throughout my career, I've always really applied all of the different marketing principles. And knowing that to do marketing successfully, it's not just a one thing. It's not just having a great product. It's not having a great brand. It is a combination, advertising, reputation, customer service. It's the people that you hire. So it's a combination of everything. And so as a business owner, I've really been able to wear a lot of different hats and play all those different marketing roles. I'm originally from Cleveland. I came down to Columbus almost 30 years ago. I graduated from Cleveland State University, and I was fortunate to get a really cool job right out of college. I was a product manager and was able to really apply everything I learned, your basic marketing 101 skills, and applied everything to the products that, the company I worked for sold. One of our clients was Ace Hardware, and I was in charge of private label, and was able to be on the team that designed the Ace Hardware logo, which is actually still being used today. So it's kind of one of those feather in my cap. So I'm really proud to say it, and I love seeing that Ace Hardware logo, and it kind of reminds me of what are the principles of really branding a company. As I said, I was up in Cleveland, came down here, and have been working with a variety of different businesses. I do different types of businesses. I do some small businesses. I will work with some established, but all different industries, whether it's consulting services with, attorneys or accountants, to, actual selling products, to, other types of services, consumer services, like dog training or hair salons and places like that. So I've really been able to get involved with a lot of different businesses. And the one thing that I've always been able to stay true to is that all businesses, marketing applies no matter where you're at. Doesn't matter what industry you're in. It's all the same principles. Customers have needs and companies have products to take care of those needs. And one of my challenges that I challenge myself with every one of my clients is, how do I help that client show what they have is what the customer needs?
Yeah, great. So let's start out. We'll kind of start a bigger picture and kind of go down. When we talk about marketing, based on your experience in working with people in small businesses, what do you see as their perception of what marketing is? And if that's not, accurate, what is marketing in your opinion? And then we'll kind of drill down from there.
Yeah. So, and I might say this again throughout the day, but business owners to me they're like chefs and they're like artists. So if any of you have ever worked with a chef, how, or an artist, how passionate they are about what they do. They're experts in their field, and their way is the only way. And so a lot of times business owners, they don't see things from their customers' eyes. And that's what really marketing is. Marketing is how to get the message across to customers that this business has what they need. And so as passionate about their business as they are really focused on doing their business, not really focused on things looking from an objective point of view or from the customer's point of view.
That's interesting. The point you made about that they're looking at running their business. They're in it every day. It is something that they're constantly dealing with all of the different aspects of it. And sometimes that makes it difficult then to kind of take a step back and say, okay, what am I really trying to do? And I'm trying to connect with customers and sell to customers. So I think that's a great point. And when you're trying to, really get to understand your customer, really start to, kind of build something that'll allow you to really understand your business from their perspective. What are some of the things that you recommend? You know, we talk a lot about at the SBDC research, and we talk about, you know, demographics and psychographics and all the cool terms. But you know, what do you recommend that they start with as they're starting to build out their marketing and their branding and things?
So I think, you know, a new business starting out, you know, they've got a lot of challenges. You know, the first challenge is, what is the name of their business going to be? And you know, sometimes the name of a business could be an abstract, like Cane's Chicken. It's Cane's, so it came out with a name and named after something, but then they added the chicken on the end. So then all of a sudden now it's not a surprise that what does Cane's do? Well, they sell chicken. So one of the most important aspects starts out right out with their company name, and allowing their company to be people to understand what they do right when they hear their company name. Some people will use you know, maybe their last name as part of their business. You know, they might add the word consulting, or they might add, you know, auto mechanic or something like that at the end of it. But the important thing is to make sure that your name has meaning, and that it describes what you do, if that's important in your industry.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Chaz Trutel, who we saw earlier, when he started his business, in which I think he still has, he has multiple businesses. It's hard to keep track of all the businesses Chaz has, but yeah, his business was Get You Connected. So I don't even have to tell you what that means, that he does, because it's super clear. And I think a lot of people get bogged down in the naming process. So do you have any thoughts, recommendations when you're thinking about naming, and then kind of let's dovetail into, let's say we don't have a name. So we start out, we come up with the name, right? And I'm sure that some of the things that you do sometimes is working with companies that already have a name, but it doesn't do what we're talking about here. It doesn't fit to a brand. It doesn't communicate what they're trying to do. So if we have folks that are on here that maybe have a name, but they're not happy with it, you know, do they have to stick with the old one? How do they make that change?
Well, you know, the first piece is, you know, when you are creating a name, making sure that you don't identify that name doesn't identify with something else, a different brand, a different company. You know, you might have two business partners and both names might start with D. Well, do you want to be called D&D? Because then people would associate it with something they may know of, Dungeons and Dragons. So, you know, being, you know, cautious of that. And do you want to be associated with that or referred to as that? When people look up the internet, a D&D, are they going to find you? Because everything's going to be coming up Dungeons and Dragons. So looking at something like that, there are many businesses that have evolved their names. They've started out doing one thing and changed their names, trying to keep somewhat of a similarity to it, but then also changing it because it's not their identity anymore. And a good example of that is, you know, is the Limited. It started out as the store The Limited, then it turned into Limited Brands because they picked up some other stores. Then they sold off the Limited and they weren't the Limited anymore. So they shortened it to L Brands. So, you know, very clever, obviously a lot of marketing dollars there. You know, probably worked with some agencies, and did probably a lot of focus groups, a lot of research on it, you know, kind of setting it out there with other associations and clients and making sure that it's a good fit. So, you know, it is a process, and you know, you start putting it down on paper and you start reviewing it, then you start talking about it, and usually you can come up with something clever and unique.
Yeah. So to your point, from the small business perspective, you started to go into, you know, kind of the process of understanding the name. in building a name. But again, if we don't have a ton of money to put forth to focus group it and do all the stuff like the Limited or some of these other folks, what would you say kind of a process of coming up and building that name? You know, you talked about the conversation, discussion back and forth, but what are some of the things that you need to be thinking about as you're building out that name?
So I think the main thing to think about is really just doing your research and knowing your industry. So, you know, knowing who your target audience is and who your target audience, what are they going to be looking for? So, for example, you know, you're looking for a certain type of service, you know, getting your hair cut or, you know, going to the dentist. What are people going to put in their search engines to look for you? And being able to research that, taking a look at your competitors and finding out what keywords are your competitors working, or, you know, what keywords are working for your competitors and how are they finding them. So really doing that research, that competitive intelligence is extremely important to know what your competitors are doing. But another thing that I like to do when I'm doing research on companies and names is I like to look up small businesses in other cities. So one of the tricks that I'll do is if I've got a construction company and they want to put their name together, you know, I might put in construction companies, Nashville, or, you know, Austin, Texas, or, you know, another city, and so that I know that it's a unique approach. I'm not going to be getting anything similar, you know, in their target audience and their target market, and kind of getting ideas from there. So that's a really a good place to start, is to really kind of look and see. You know, one thing I learned in college: don't invent the wheel. It's already been invented. So, you know, really, there's other people that have done the same thing that you're doing. They've done it. Hundreds and hundreds of people have done that. So, you know, learn from what they've done. So you're not really copying. You're using them as examples. You know, you're using it as input, and all that input comes into you, and then all of a sudden it'll mold into what your business name is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like that because I mean, it's that research piece. You know, you don't have to get. It's important if you can get down into the heavy market research, and you know, there's a lot of places that can help you. We can help you. The library is a great resource and things like that. But I think a lot of people don't realize that they can just go do some searches and go look at other communities and go things like that. You know. We have a term that we like to use, which when we talk about R&D, you know, it's kind of research and duplicate. You know, it's like, you know, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can do that. One thing I'd be interested in is we have several people on the session today. If you have, I'd be interested in seeing some of the company names that we have that are here, and you know, especially if you're really super proud of your name that you got and things of that nature, go ahead and throw it in the chat. We'd love to see that. You mentioned the URL earlier. So when you're creating the name, how do you connect the two of those and really do that? Because I think a lot of people, again, they get really hyped up and, you know, hey, this is going to be the name. And then they end up with a URL that's, you know, word dash word backslash word, you know, dot, things like that, which makes it challenging.
So the URL is it's a very kind of almost fascinating dynamic for business owners, because they want the URL to be exactly what their business name is. Sometimes that's too long. Probably 90% of the time it's already taken. So the URL business itself and buying domain names is a huge, huge, huge profit center. There are companies that go out there and will buy up for $10 a year, hundreds, thousands of domain names, only to try to resell them for a profit. And so, unfortunately for small business owners and marketers of small business owners like me, that starts to create a huge challenge. I have seen businesses that would name their company name because they found a URL that was available. That's the only reason they named their company name that, because they found a URL that was kind of close to what they wanted. And I strongly do not recommend doing that. It really doesn't do a good job at really explaining what your company business is. Now, sometimes it's a term that's not even grammatically correct, so that makes it always kind of awkward. And so sometimes it's deceiving. It might be a URL that really might think your business is something else than what it really is. And so that's the hard part about doing that. So the trick is to be creative. Trying to find maybe a tagline that you use, and using the tagline as your URL. That might not be something that might not be S&R construction. That might be taken already. SR construction might be taken, but buildingsticks.com might not be. I'm just giving an example, something that you're, what are you actually doing? Maybe that might be something that might be available. And it's clever and allows you still to get your message across of what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. We've got some great names here in the chat. So if you're on here and you haven't opened the chat up, go check the names out, because again, I think that these are all really good names. So let's take a little bit of a shift now. So we've kind of thought about the name, and we got to have the name. And it's funny because sometimes we get folks that come in, I've got this idea that I want to start a business, and they go register the business right away. Because not because they have done the research, not because they know they can run the business, not because they know that this is an opportunity out there for them. It's because they've got the name. It's all about the name. Then we'll figure the business part out later. But I want to shift a little bit when we start talking about branding. So we talk about the name. When you talk about branding for a business, tell me what your thoughts are about that. Because I think sometimes folks get branding as the logo, or branding is the name, or branding is the color. But my experience is it's kind of everything associated with your business. So talk to me a little bit about that.
So, and you're right. And branding is all of those things. But to kind of give you an example of, a business name, and then trying to get a logo around it, an example like a company called Jiffy Lube, where, all right, it's quick, it's getting your oil changed quickly. The name actually says what it does. Then as far as branding goes, the one thing that you want to always get across to your customers is, why are you different? So in Jiffy Lube's case, they're different because they're quick. They were one of the first ones to market to come out with having a quick oil change. Before, it used to be cumbersome and took you an hour, and you have to drop off your car and pick it back up. And it used to be, very tedious. And so, their business differentiator was that they were quick, but they still get the job done. They still got your oil changed. And so when a business has a specialty in what they do, being able to identify what their differentiator is, why are they different, why are they better, and actually applying that to their name is really helpful in the beginning of all of their branding.
So when you're thinking about working with a client on a logo, so I don't know if you are, how artistic you are to do this, like I don't feel I'm super artistic. So it would be kind of tricky for me to kind of put something together logo wise. What are some things that you recommend, some specific tangible things that people should be doing when they are building their logo, all the way from the research to actually doing the building of the logo?
So, I am not a graphic designer by trade. And going back to the Ace Hardware logo, I was on a team, so we had a graphic designer, but then we also had people that were doing marketing that realized, okay, well, it needs to be something that's clean. It needs to be something that's identifiable, something that's unique. But it also has to be something that fits good in different places. Is it going to look good on a shirt? Is it going to look good on, on the menu site of your website? It has to, check off all those boxes. And I have, worked with a lot of different graphic designers throughout the years, tons of them. And I have a few go-tos that I work with now. And usually the process and what I've found is that graphic designers, as talented as they are, they still need the direction of what the logo is supposed to represent. But you can tell them what you want it to represent, and then they can magically make it and make it look good. But sometimes graphic designers just on their own, without knowing the whole marketing strategy behind that brand, sometimes will struggle actually putting a logo together. So that's a lot of things to consider when you are doing your own logo.
When you're looking for a designer, so you say you've got some go-tos, but like for the folks that are here, if they're thinking about looking at a designer, what are some things that you would recommend that they look for in the designer?
Well, obviously experience, trying to find a designer that has worked within that industry helps, because they already know what the flavor of it is. They know the vibe of the logo and those types of things. Sometimes it's important, sometimes it's not. And sometimes finding graphic designers are difficult, sometimes they're not. I mean, it's basically trying to find a freelance designer that can actually put together what your thoughts are. So that's kind of one of those tricky parts. And like I said, I have some go-tos, and I have different designers for different projects that I have. So depends on what the project is who I'll hire.
Okay, so let's take it to I guess the next step of this. So let's say that we have the name, that's what we want. We start to build out the brand, so we have some ideas there. Maybe we even have the logo, we have some other things. And when you and I talk too, I mean, I think I might have mentioned when I'm thinking about logos that, you got to think about the color, and you got to think about all this, which you do, but you mentioned not every logo has to have color in it either. So, don't get too wrapped up there. But let's take it to the next step where we actually are talking about developing the web presence. I don't know if that's the next step, but I want to talk about the web presence and building out that website based on the brand, based on your understanding of the customer and how you want the customer to interact with the website. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. And, as I mentioned before, I've done a lot of different industries. So, some of the websites, you have to really determine what is the goal of the website. I have some white websites I've designed that a client will strictly say, I just want people to know I'm a real business. I want them, if they put my name in the internet and they find me, I come up, I show up, and, but I don't want to be called up on search engines. So when someone, Googles my service, that I don't need to be the first one to come up, because I get my clients from referrals. But, so-and-so will ask so-and-so, and, they'll want to make sure the company is legit. So, the purpose of that website is really what's going to be key. Other clients I've had, they actually want to sell items on their website. And some clients, they may want to book appointments on their website. So they want their website to strictly be, I've got a client coming to me, I want to be able to book an appointment. And so, making that really easy to find on their website is my job, is to make that easy. So really, depending on what your business is, and again, it all goes back to, what does your customer want? your customer wants to hire you to do a service, how can you make it the easiest you can for that customer?
Yeah, absolutely. And I always think about, when I think about websites, again, this is, sometimes you got to watch when you get into working with designers and web developers and things of that nature, who are really good at what they do. And especially, the ones that have a little bit more design aspect to it, they may make the most beautiful website. It's just aesthetically perfect. I just love to look at it, but it doesn't really do anything for the business either. So, my experience with websites is that people, whatever the mechanism, they're going to end up on this website. Okay. So your point was great, because what do you want them to do when they get there? So like I said, you want them to book an appointment, you want them to, request more information, whatever it is, you need to understand that. And you either need to communicate that to the designer, or you need to incorporate that into what you're doing, because that's really the point of this. I mean, I remember, I've been doing this for somewhere close to 100 years. And I remember back in, probably in the late 90s, early 2000s, when there was actually the conversation, does a business actually need a website? And all the website really was just at best a brochure. But now it's really an extension of your sales process. So being able to understand what you want them to do when they get there. And can you talk a little bit about, from a marketing perspective, and we may have touched on this, but I want to dive into a little bit. What are some things you recommend to get people to the website?
So, the search engine optimization is extremely important. And then I'll get to, the Google Maps here in a minute. But as far as, the SEO, back to what I said before, I want to find a hairstylist in Columbus. So that's the keywords. So making sure that your website has content on it that Google can read it. Also, when it goes to that, making sure that your website designer knows how to set up the SEO, knows how to set up those search engine optimization words, knows how to index the business on Google so that you do show up. And so, those are really important steps that I think a lot of web designers I've seen have failed at. A lot of business owners that will try to set up their own websites, they won't be successful in that. So, the website really isn't functioning as much as it should, because they haven't dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's. And, the Google My Business is of utmost important when it comes to clients, getting clients to your place. People they don't want to search for you. They want to make it easy. You have to make it easy for them to find you. And so setting up your website to be indexed by Google, and then also indexing your actual location on Google Maps, is key to helping your customers. Because it's one, you want to get new customers, but you also want a smooth buying experience for your existing customers. So when they, I've only been to this place once, where was it? They want to put it in Google really fast. They want to put it in their maps, and they want to click the button with directions, and they want to get to your place. And if that's not set up correctly, they're going to be driving around in circles and having troubles. So it's not really just the website, it's how the website interacts with the internet as well.
Yeah, the importance of kind of that search is critical, because that's what I think all of us do now that we have, the power of your smartphones and things like that. You don't even have to think about it. You just put it in. You don't even have to think about the terms. You just write it in and it goes. I do have a question here about, again, moving people to the thing. How does social media work with that? And how would a newer business go about putting together the social media and especially for starting from scratch. I mean, you got zero. How do you
Mhm.
get interactions with folks? Maybe even, the email marketings and things of that nature. But on the social media side, how do you use that? Because if it's set up right, great, it pushes people to the site and its content and all that you got to do. How do you do that as a small business owner and do it such that, especially if you want to try to do it yourself, so that it doesn't cost you a fortune to try to pull off?
Right. And yes, and social media marketing is like grassroots marketing sometimes. It's a daily process sometimes, or a weekly process, depending on what kind of business you have. The first things, the internet, when you want to come up, again, you want your website to show up on the internet. The internet is going to take a look at your website and who's coming to your website. Where are they getting there from? Are they getting them from the Google search? Are they getting them from a Facebook page? And vice versa. When people are on your website, do you have that Facebook icon on your website so that people realize, oh, I can go to their Facebook page? And so Google will see that internet interaction, and will, boost you up in the rankings. Social media is a great way of updating people on daily activities, but you don't need all that information necessarily on your website. So they really complement each other. It's almost like here's the last minute update, but here's the core information that you need to have. So they really work hand in hand in a lot of different ways.
Great. So we've got about 10 minutes and I've got a couple more questions I want to do, but Stacey, for the folks that are in here and the folks that do watch this, I want to get it into the chat. What if somebody's looking to connect with you? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, you can go to my website at mixedmarketing.us, and my phone number's on there. My email address is on there. I'm also listed on the DEC website as well.
Okay, great. And so it's mixedmarketing.us.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Bruce, can you put that in the chat? And if somebody's interested in connecting with you, I would encourage them to just go ahead and do that. Is there any sort of process that you go through with folks when they first contact you?
So usually what I'll do is, I'll do a 1-hour consultation at no charge. I'll get to know, what their needs are. Sometimes get to know a little bit more about their business or their industry if I'm not already familiar with it. And basically just sitting down and listening to, where their pain points are and what their needs are. And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, great. I appreciate that. So we've thought about all this stuff. We got all these pieces. What's your thoughts on creating the marketing plan? We got to create a plan maybe to pull all this together so that it all connects and works in tandem with each other. What are your thoughts on creating that plan?
The marketing plan is probably one of the strongest tools that a company will ever use. And, it's a little painstaking. It's a little bit of work, but you'd be amazed at what you will find out about your business. Where are you, where are you strong? Where are you over your customers? But it also lets you think about things that, we haven't even talked about today would be, event marketing or advertising, public relations. It opens up, oh geez, I didn't even think about that. Should I put a press release out to the news that, so the local newspaper can say, I got a new restaurant coming up. So a lot of times there's all those different aspects because they're worried about everything else, their logo and their brand and their, running their business itself, So the plan, the cool thing about a marketing plan that might be a little bit different than a business plan is a marketing plan is a living document. You just go to that tab and you're there, you got something new going on, go back to that tab with your list of, your media contacts, whether it's TV or radio or associations, association magazines, if you belong to an association and you're active in different, different groups. So you're always going back to it. You're always, referring to it on an ongoing basis.
Absolutely. One thing I didn't talk about, and just kind of kicked up to me when we talk about connection with the customers and things like that. What do you recommend, or what are your thoughts on, dealing with the Yelps and the Angie's List type of stuff, these kind of sites that do the folks come in and put the ratings and things? How do you recommend they deal with that?
Well, obviously making sure your customers are happy. One little trick is, if you've got a very happy customer, is to really encourage them to get out there and give you a review. That'll always help you. You're not going to be able to please everybody all the time. There's generally, every one of my clients have had somebody that's had a certain reason why that business didn't work for them anymore. And so the nice thing about those things is they're transparent. But also sometimes people will go to those things because if they had a good experience, they don't bother talking about it. When they had a bad experience, they want everybody to know. So, really encouraging your customers that and that really love your business, encouraging them to support you in those ways. And I've done that for numerous clients, sent emails out, please send us a review, whether it's a Google review or a review from one of the sites that they're on that, they get leads from, or whatever it may be.
Last thing I really want to dive into a little bit is about this kind of, let's say you have customers, you have prospects, or you have people that you've dealt with or that you talk about the customer communication process. What is it that you recommend in terms of, connecting with your customers? How often do you kind of think about it? I'm getting a little technical, but how often do you reach out to folks? How do you reach out to folks? Is email marketing still a good thing to think about? Or, what do you recommend in terms of just being able to make sure customers are aware of what you've got going on in case they need it, or they can share it with someone else?
So the key to that, whether it be, email blast or, Facebook post, are to, again, think about your customer and what's important to your customer. Is it important to your customer that, I don't know, you did something different in your business? Or is it important to your customer because, oh my gosh, we got 4 more chairs now. We can take more clients now. We don't have a backed up wait anymore. You can come and see us. Thinking about that message of, is it going to be something that my customer wants to know about? And not just sending fluff out there to send fluff. So nobody has really time to just, go through all the weeds and try to find something that's important to them. So, being concise, making sure it's something that's going to help your customers, without just a bunch of, words on a page.
That's a great point, because I think that a lot of businesses that decide, okay, well, I'm going to do email marketing, or I'm going to do some sort of mechanism to reach my customers, they don't keep that lens focused outward. I think this is cool, so let me tell it to them. Let me do this, and it may be cool. It's not necessarily what they're interested in. So really understanding what's important to those customers is super critical, and I think that's a great point when you're thinking about developing whatever communication channels that you might have.
Yeah, and then as far as the how many times, it's going to depend on what your business is. If you hold weekly events, you're going to be sending out a few emails a week. If you hold, if you've only got an update once a month, then you might not, maybe you have a monthly newsletter that has information. And, if you're going to do some type of a newsletter where you just, you want to get an update to customers, but just throwing it in an email is different. But if you always categorize it where you've got different categories of different updates, and your customers are going to know, oh, I don't care about this part, but I really want to read about this. They're going to know to go to that, and keeping it a newsletter type of format will allow it. So, it just depends on what your business is how often you're going to be doing those e-blasts, or how often you're going to be doing, updates on social media.
And, everybody who's on here or watches this may know this, but at least my opinion, if you're going to do some sort of email marketing or something like that, you need to have some sort of system that allows you to automate it to some degree. And that allows for people to unsubscribe and all that. You just can't go into your Outlook and start firing out, mass blast to everybody, and different things like that, because that's a good way to get you in marketing jail with some of the folks.
Well, and a lot of those softwares are free. Usually they give a limit, so they're not very expensive if you do have to get a subscription, but you can get some that are free. But the keys to those are, yes, it will monitor and allow you to let your customers opt out on the subscription. But there are a lot of tools in the back end that you really can't afford to not use. One of them is, if you want to send things out from your regular email, you may have a limit. You may have 25 limit, so many emails a day that your email provider will allow you to send out. Using like a Constant Contact or one of the MailChimps, whatever it may be. You can send out multiple emails without that risk. But for me, from a marketing standpoint, the key to that is being able to look and see who's opened your emails and how many people have opened it. And if there was a click through on the email, what got clicked on. So those are all really, really valuable resources to, allow you to know what you're doing, and if you're doing it right, and if you're doing something that's not right, how can you change it?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here. I do have another question before we go, but I do want to thank Chaz and Susie and the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center for being part of this program since inception. This is something that I think has been really valuable, and I really appreciate y'all's support. Bruce Walters, don't forget, everybody, to go check out our website, check out what's on there. The Small Business Spotlight's a great opportunity to see what folks that probably are sitting in the same seat that you're sitting in terms of development are doing, or things that they've done as a small business owner and an entrepreneur. So I would encourage you to go check that stuff out. I think that's really good. And obviously, if there's anything that we can do as a Small Business Development Center for folks, don't hesitate to contact us. Bruce put our website in there. So we would love to be able to assist you. The last question I have, Stacey, for the folks that are on here, and I know it's pretty diverse and they have diverse needs and all that kind of stuff. So I'll ask you to narrow down to one thing that you would recommend that, somebody that's wanting to develop a marketing strategy and, really needs to get to their customers and start to generate revenue. What would you say kind of one thing that they should start with? What's saying one thing that they should do this week to kind of get them moving?
Well, what you guys talked about at the beginning of this session is going to that marketing plan workshop. I mean, that is going to have all the eggs in the basket. It's going to have everything in there that you're going to need. And that would be my recommendation is doing something like that. There it is.
Yeah, that's right. Great. So Bruce put that in the chat. Like I said, that begins on October 5th, and we do that every quarter. So this is a special one that's being held live at the Columbus Metropolitan Library, but we also do it another time. So if you're unable to jump in there, so it'd be great. So again, thanks to everyone who's been here. Stacey, thank you for jumping on here. I appreciate it. It's a great opportunity for me to learn more about what you do and for you to share the things there. And I think the next time we do it, what we'll do is we'll have the dogs involved. Because I got our dogs and you got your dogs, and that would be much more entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah, the dog's been put to the side for the hour.
Yeah, so we got to go let them out. So again, thank you, Stacey, for everything. Everybody who's here, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again next month on Small Business Breakthroughs.
Thank you.